And this is 36, the podcast. Podcast. 36, the podcast.
Fairbanks, North Star Borough, the surrounding areas, people in Germany, people in Australia, people in Korea. What's up? We see you. We've seen that you've been logging on and downloading episodes, so thank you guys wherever you are around the world. My name is Tilden.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Brandon.
And this is 36 Podcast. So today we have a special treat for you, and we have no other than Scott McCrea. And Scott McCrea, are you the president?
That's the title they gave me, yes.
Okay, yeah. So he is the president of Explore Fairbanks, Alaska. Thank you, Scott, for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here. It's my favorite day of the year and one of my favorite places in Fairbanks to be, so can't go wrong.
Exactly, and so this happens to be the solstice, the summer solstice weekend, so there's a lot of events going on in the Fairbanks area. And you're going to probably get this podcast after the fact, but hopefully you guys have had a chance to get out and enjoy some of the solstice weekend activities. So before we get into the meat and potatoes, as we do every time we do a podcast on Saturday, we sample the tap for today. So anybody happen to get the tap for the day? It's a Goza again, and what is it conditioned with this time? Anybody know?
Green apple.
So it's a green apple Goza that, remember, a couple of weeks ago was supposed to be a green apple, but it wound up tasting like what?
It was it's supposed to be watermelon, tasted like green apple.
Okay, it's supposed to be watermelon, tastes like green apple. So we're going to see how this one goes. So once again, I'm still on my month-long cleanse, and so I'm going to be having my hot water. But the rest of the guys are going to tell us what they think about today's pour. Go ahead, Scott. What are your thoughts?
I'm a hardcore IPA drinker, so it's always hard to transition to a different style of beer there. I mean, there's definitely the hint of the green apple there, but I think for a summertime day, 80 degrees, this is a nice summertime beer here. Very refreshing.
Right. Good deal. Brandon, what you think?
I'm going to let Jeff go first.
I mean, I was expecting it to taste like a green apple Sour Patch Kid, but it's not as strong as the watermelon one was for green apple flavor.
Okay.
I think the watermelon one tasted almost more like a candy flavored green apple. This one, you can really taste the Goza. Goza's a pretty tart drink, but also the green apple's kind of tart.
Right.
So I'm getting definitely hints of that.
Yeah.
Not a huge Goza fan. I'm pretty hardcore IPA like Scott here, but
yes, sir.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
All right. Well, hey, another kudos. We're going to give another kudos to our friends at Hoodoo. There goes that air horn. Boom. All right. So, without further ado, we have Mr. Scott McCrea. He's the president of Explore Fairbanks, Alaska. And we're going to get started with a few questions. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, I've got the first question. What makes Fairbanks a unique destination compared to other parts of Alaska?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Tilden. And just maybe a quick clarification for those who aren't aware. Explore Fairbanks, we're the tourism marketing entity. Our job is to sell Fairbanks to the world, to bring visitors here, to bring tour groups here. We kind of consider ourselves the storytellers at Fairbanks. Our job is to tell the story of who we are as a destination to get people to come here. And it's as far as a product that one has to sell, you couldn't ask for a better product to sell than right here in Fairbanks, Alaska. So
Exactly.
In terms of the uniqueness, I've been across Alaska. I grew up in the southeast. Every part of the state has something that makes it amazing. I mean, Alaska as a whole is such a beautiful state. I grew up in southeast Alaska, the coastal climates, the rainforest. Again, every part of the state has something that makes it special.
Right.
I think here for Fairbanks, the big thing that when I talk to visitors when they come here, people come to Alaska because they want to experience Mother Nature. It's trying to see a moose, the glaciers, the northern lights, Denali. But what I find with visitors who come here to Fairbanks, their biggest takeaway, it's the human nature.
Yes.
It's the people that they experience. It's, we are the Golden Heart City of Alaska, and we know that as a community, how connected we are. And I hear that from visitors, too, and say, you guys are like the friendliest people that I've met in this state or anywhere else that I've traveled to.
Yes.
So I think that adds up to what sets us apart. To include weekends like this, solstice, no other part of Alaska is celebrating summer to the extent that we do. So that human nature is such an important part of who we are, and it's that authentic Alaskan experience that we offer.
Yes, good deal. All right, I totally agree with you on that. Thank you.
Okay, so how's tourism in Fairbanks evolved over the past decade?
I would say the biggest thing that has changed in tourism here in Fairbanks over the course of the last 10 years is the growth of winter tourism. And that sets us apart from other parts of Alaska, too. So down in southeast Alaska, for example, they're pretty much summertime only for their visitors. It's all based upon cruise ships. Here in Fairbanks, our winter tourism has actually grown quicker than summertime tourism has. And that's because of our reputation that we have as being one of the best places really in the world to come and see the Northern Lights. So other parts of Alaska, it's a shortened season. Ours, it goes throughout the year. So that's good for the local economy. That's good for local jobs. That's good for money that's coming into the community. It's amazing to see, like, just the last couple of years, like the month of March, that's our kind of our peak winter month.
Right.
March is actually exceeding like summertime months in terms of number of visitors who are coming here.
Oh, wow.
And the great thing about winter visitors that separates that from the summertime visitors, people who come here in Fairbanks in the summertime, they're usually going to other parts of Alaska. They're coming here, maybe spending a couple days here in Fairbanks and going on to Anchorage and the Kenai Peninsula.
Right.
Our winter visitors who come here pretty much coming just to be in Fairbanks, stay in as long as possible, try to see the Northern Lights.
Right.
They tend to be higher spend visitors. So,
Yes.
I think, really what we've seen for the evolution of tourism here, it's been that winter market.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So what are some lesser-known attractions or experiences that you wish more people knew about here in Fairbanks?
Yeah, that's a good question. It used to be my answer to that would be talking about the Antique Auto Museum, which, it's still in some ways kind of a hidden secret here in Fairbanks that even some locals aren't aware of. Have you guys been to the...
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
I'm aware, but I have never been.
Oh, my gosh.
Really?
Oh, what
Oh,
is going
yes,
on?
man. Bro, you
I've
need
never
to get
been.
there,
I've been
man.
wanting to go there. I
Yeah.
want to.
You need to get there.
I mean, it is, world class tends to be like an overrated description of something, but we truly have a world class antique auto museum here in Fairbanks. And it's kind of tucked away there at Wedgwood Resort.
Yeah.
What's exciting about that museum is they're moving it over to the old Kmart building
Yes.
later this fall, and they're going to combine it with an aviation component too.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that's kind of the. I think I mentioned that as like a hidden secret because visitors who come here, they're just stunned that we have something like that here in the middle of Alaska. But I think for other things, it's like kind of out of the way places. It's like Chattanooga Lodge.
Yes.
I look at the fact that we have the Chena River here. We're the only city in Alaska that is a river city, and people come here and a lot of the visitors in the summertime, they're doing the Rural Discovery, which is a fantastic tour, but there's so many other ways to explore the river too. And we have a lot of different tour companies, smaller business owners who are doing reindeer tours. Running Reindeer Ranch is kind of a big one, but others are doing that as well. So I think there's, throughout the community, there's just lots of little off the beaten path activities and not just for visitors to enjoy, but also for residents too.
Nice. All right. That it?
No, I had a question, but then he answered it when he was talking.
Okay.
So he's nailing it.
Mostly I just want to know when the parades are going to be. So I remember seeing they're going to basically do a parade of the cars from the old location.
Yeah, that's going to be. I'm not. Yeah, so the plan there is to move those 70-some cars from Wedgwood. I guess assuming to be going downtown and down Airport Way over there. It'll be sometime this fall when they're doing it, but that is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And here's something too. The Auto Museum, the collection they have there, that's not all the cars that fountainhead Mr. Tim Cerny owns. He's got like 100+ cars that they don't have the space for there. So
my Lord.
that's going to be, that new transportation museum is going to be just amazing.
Nice.
And that's going to be one heck of a parade.
I want to say they're taking the little aviation museum there at Pioneer Park.
Yeah.
Making it part of it all.
That's going to move. Yeah. So the Pioneer Aviation Museum over in what many of us still like to call Alaska Land.
Yeah.
That'll be moving over there to that facility
Oh,
too.
okay. Now, what's going to happen to the old location?
Which the old auto museum?
No, the old aviation.
I'm not sure what they're doing with that, but I know with the current auto museum, the plan is they're going to turn that into a convention center, which is very good because we need more meeting space, more convention center space, because that's a big part of the visitor industry.
Yeah.
So that's going to be great for the local economy too.
Okay, so my next question, I've got a two-part question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so can you tell us the role of the Borealis, the Aurora, and in attracting winter tourism?
It's huge.
Yes.
That's been, I mean, the reason we are successful as a winter destination is because of the Northern Lights and Fairbanks being one of the best places to come see them. And I say, well, of course you have to say we're one of the best places because you're the marketing entity, but this is backed by science of why Fairbanks is so good to see them. So, number one, we are located here in Fairbanks, Interior Alaska, under geographically what is known as the Aurora Oval.
Okay.
So it's that perfect location where the aurora activities happen like directly in the sky above. You go up a little further north, up to the Arctic Circle, Coldfoot, Wiseman, it's even better there. So we have that.
Yes.
As you guys know, we're pretty fortunate here in Fairbanks. For the most part, we don't get much cloud coverage.
Yeah.
We're 500 miles inland, so you look at our competitors in aurora tourism, Northern Europe places, Norway, Iceland, they're largely coastal. They get more cloud coverage than we do. So we get that clear skies, which is so critical to see them. So we actually give the aurora its own season. So we say the aurora season in Fairbanks is August 21st to April 21st.
Oh.
And the main reason we kind of choose,
as early as August?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
yeah.
okay.
Later, once it gets, there's aurora happening now, but of course we're 24 hours of daylight.
Can't see it.
That's not optimal conditions there.
Yes.
Once you get to that late August time frame, you're getting those dark skies again to be able to see them, and then going up to April 21st. After that, it's getting too daylight out. So, and that's a great point too, because a lot of people who want to see the aurora, they think, well, you have to go up in the middle of winter, and for some reason, some people don't want to come to Fairbanks in the middle of winter. I can't imagine why.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. I know we're going to talk about winter here in a minute too, but so we were able to tell them and say, no, you can come here in late August. You can enjoy summertime in Interior Alaska, go to Denali, do an Alaska cruise, and still try to see the Northern Lights. But it's definitely critical to who we are as a visitor destination. It's worked very well for us.
Nice. Okay, so part two of my question. Are there any misconceptions that people have about seeing the auroras?
Well, I think, we kind of clarified the one because a lot of people are surprised that you can see it in late summertime. They think you have to see it in the middle of winter.
Yes.
A lot of people who come up here for aurora tours, they'll wake up, in the morning, look at the forecast and say, it's going to be cloudy. I'm not going to try to go out and see them. We know weather changes very quickly here. A cloudy day in the morning, it could be crystal clear, by night. And even if I've even seen aurora, you guys probably have too, even if there's some cloud coverage, you can see it sometimes. Yeah. Same with the full moon. A lot of people think, a full moon is not going to make for good aurora condition. That's not true either. I've seen the Northern Lights pretty well when it's there's been a full moon out.
Yeah, but I'm guessing it depends on where you go to view them, though.
It does. Yeah, so we actually have one thing we put together, Explore Fairbanks, is an aurora tracker.
Okay.
So it combines data from the Geophysical Institute, which does their aurora forecast, along with National Weather Service, so people can look and say, okay, you look ahead to the evening, here's North Pole, here's Cleary Summit, here's Chena Hot Springs, and kind of see what the weather prediction is along with the aurora forecast prediction is. So we have a lot of aurora tourism companies. There's so many of them that are up now. That's a big thing too about aurora tourism is there's so many different ways to try to see them. It used to be back in the day, you just get in a van, go out of town to a lodge somewhere, and sit around and hope the lights come out. But
Right.
now we have companies like dog mushing operators who will do like dog mushing tours under the Northern Lights, ice fishing under the Northern Lights. And what's nice about that is in case, Mother Nature is not being cooperative and the lights don't come out, people still, well, I did dog mushing, or I did ice fishing.
Right. Okay. Cool. Okay. So if you're out there listening and you are planning a visit to Fairbanks specifically to see the auroras, and you don't want to come in the wintertime because, it can get kind of cold in the wintertime here. I got that. You heard it from Scott McCrea himself.
Yeah.
They are out as early as August.
Late August, yeah.
And it's not that cold. It's not cold at all in August. So come on out.
Yeah.
Come on out.
ExploreFairbanks.com. That's your go-to source.
I was going to say it is 11 o'clock at night when you're on a motorcycle. All right. Excuse me. So how does Explore Fairbanks, Alaska balance promoting tourism while respecting and preserving the cultural heritage of Alaska Native communities?
Yeah, it's an important part of who we are as a destination. I always like to say when I'm doing presentations to potential visitors or tour groups, mentioning that people like me were not the first people to come to Fairbanks, and there were people who came here hundreds of years before us, and their story and their culture is a critical component of who we are as a community and as a destination. So we're very respectful of that. We have we work with an elder from the Denakanaga program and to do a land acknowledgement. That's in the forefront of our visitors guide. It's on our website. We acknowledge the fact. There were people who were here hundreds of years ago. As far as tourism, it is, because this is, look at the course of kind of changes in tourism over the last 5 years since the pandemic, and look at what are people seeking out. A lot of visitors who come here, especially international visitors, they want that cultural experience. They want to learn about the Native culture. They want to purchase, items that are crafted by local Native people. So we try to work with the local entities to make sure that is known. I think the big thing with, cultural tourism is I'm not the storyteller. Right. They are the storytellers. So making sure that they are the ones telling their story and presenting their life to the visitors in the way that they want it to be told. And there's some great examples of the Riverboat Discovery, which, by the way, they're celebrating their 75th anniversary.
Yes.
This summer. Have you guys, who's done the Riverboat Discovery?
I've done that.
Yeah,
I promise I've done that.
I ventured to gift shop, but I'm taking my grandbabies though.
Okay, so
I love the smoked salmon from Captain.
Captain Jim's smoked salmon.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah.
So they're 75 years old, which is, here in Alaska, we're such a young state, and Fairbanks is such a young city that we have a tour company that is 75 years old. I think it's pretty remarkable.
Wow.
And they've made the Native culture has been a part of that tour ever since they first started. So part of that tour is the riverboat goes down the Chena River. They stop at the it's called the Chena Indian Village, and they do a tour there. And it's local high school students coming here in Fairbanks from the village who are Alaska Natives.
Oh, okay.
They're kind of they're talking about their lifestyle there. So they do a great job of that. And then you got the World Eskimo Annual Olympics coming up here.
Yes.
Just a couple weeks away.
Yes,
in,
always
in
hang
July.
out there.
Yeah, Festival of Native Art. So we have a lot of great products, a lot of great events out there that focus on Native culture. But quite honestly, we really need more because people are really wanting that more.
So, what are some of the biggest challenges tourism faces in Alaska, specifically in the interior here in Fairbanks?
Well, I appreciate that question because it's kind of when we came out, so the pandemic, of course, was, pretty devastating, to tourism across the world. We've been on an upward trend since then. We've had great years the last few years, 23, 24. We're facing some challenges right now within the industry, due to a lot of things that are happening, unfortunately, on the federal level. There's a lot of economic uncertainty, the tensions with Canada, the tensions with some of our core international market. We're seeing that start to have an impact. A lot of hoteliers, and they can't really point specifically to one reason, but we're seeing a softening in bookings for this current summer season. So it's we're just in challenging times right now. There's a lot of uncertainty of where things are. Our domestic travelers who come from the lower 48, a lot of them might be watching their pocketbooks a little more.
Right.
And so that's, one of the challenges we have is, we're a long haul destination. It's
Right.
not easy to get here necessarily, and it is expensive. It's expensive. Airfare's expensive. Everything's expensive. So when people are, prioritizing, other things over travel, it's hard for us to be on the forefront there. But our job at Explore Fairbanks, nonetheless, is just like we did during the pandemic. We didn't stop marketing during the pandemic.
Really?
We made sure, because we knew eventually this was going to pass. So we had to make sure that, okay, when people are ready to travel again, we're here. Here's what we have to offer. So we're doing the same right now.
That had to be a rough period, though.
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was, there was, and it was, it's interesting looking back at that time because our first concern over the pandemic, and we didn't even recognize it was a pandemic back then, of what it could do on the industry was actually in January of 2020 when it first broke out in Wuhan.
Yeah.
Remember that? Because before the pandemic, one of our primary international markets was from mainland China. That was a huge market that was growing for us. So our concern was, we have the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year coming up. That's a 2-week celebration when most people in China are doing their vacation. We thought,
Right.
well, that's going to just impact Lunar New Year.
Right.
And then it just, as things got into March and April, and we thought, okay, the cruise ships aren't going to be able to come maybe until July. And then it just escalated from there. So it was a rough time. But
it was a rough time.
This is a resilient industry. We have amazing tourism partners, and we've been on the road to recovery. It's been good so far. But like I said, some concerns right now.
Okay, so my next question for you. Okay, so Fairbanks is known for its extreme seasons. Now, how do you market both the 24-hour summer and the frigid winter darkness? How do you convince people to come during those cold winter months? I'm pretty sure the summer times are easier.
Well, for starters, we don't use the word frigid to describe.
Okay,
Because that's not good marketing.
Gotcha.
No, so it's interesting. So about 25 years ago, my organization, long before I was there, really took a close look at how can we expand the tourism industry into a year-round market as opposed to being just summer. And winter back then was called the opportunity season. And again, it was about the Northern Lights. Mm-hmm. It's about the fact that, we do have guaranteed winter here.
Yep.
In Fairbanks. We know that. We know we're going to have winter. We know we're going to have snow.
Right.
And there's opportunity there. So a great example of that is this year, the Iditarod restart had to move here to Fairbanks because South Central didn't have enough snow for that. So what we do is we're always consistent on kind of cross-selling the two seasons. So when visitors are coming here in the summertime, like our displays at the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center, showcase winter. Our visitor's guide blends all the seasons together, and we have examples of people come up here and they go out and do a dog kennel tour, and they're told that, well, you come back in the winter, you can actually be on a dog sled going down a winter trail. It's been a pretty easy sell.
Okay.
To be honest.
All right.
And we do, we have a how to dress for winter in Fairbanks video that we put out there and kind of help ease some of the misconceptions. And as you guys know, winters in Fairbanks are much more tolerable these days than they used to be. I mean, I think this last winter we hit maybe 30 below a couple times. So
yeah, this was these last two winters have been really easy.
They
I must
have
say.
been. Yeah. As someone who's been
say.
there, I mean, I've been here since '87. I don't recall, back in the day, cold snaps of 50 below or colder. And it hasn't been that case before. So there are misconceptions. I could never go to Fairbanks in the middle of winter, and we like to talk about the dry cold, which people will chuckle about.
Yeah,
but
so that's the old Fairbanks. So we're talking about the new Fairbanks.
The new Fairbanks,
now.
yeah.
The new improved Fairbanks.
Yes.
I mean, I'll take 15 below here over 15 degrees in like the Midwest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been here. You guys probably do trips down to Anchorage in the winter time, and you can feel colder down there in Anchorage just because it's coastal and they got the wind and the dampness. dry cold, people will joke about it and say, "Oh, it's a dry cold or a dry heat." It makes a difference.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wet cold just kind of goes straight to your bones.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's hard to do anything outside when you got that wind going. But here, our saying is, in Fairbanks in the wintertime, we don't hibernate, we celebrate.
Exactly. All right.
I guess it's my turn.
We should have rehearsed.
Okay, all right. Are there any recent or upcoming initiatives from Explore Fairbanks, Alaska that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, one of the things that we've done a lot over the last couple of years, so our primary role is we're known as what's referred to as a destination marketing organization. So, our primary job, and we're funded by bed tax. So we get, funds from the city of Fairbanks, from the bed taxes they collect, from the Fairbanks North Star Borough, from the bed tax revenues that they collect. Our whole mission is about marketing Fairbanks, but we've also tried to do more to be more involved in the community. Okay. And our philosophy over the last 3 years has been, the better this community is for residents, the better it'll be for visitors.
Okay.
Too. So we've really amplified our community engagement endeavors. We've launched our Golden Heart Giving program to try to help fund some various nonprofit endeavors in Fairbanks. Great example, this last summer we did a Feed the Helpers campaign where we took a food truck, a Tees Barbecue Connection.
Yes.
I
love Tees.
Tees is great. It's got a new storefront location too.
Yes.
We went to 11 different fire departments in the borough to feed the emergency service providers there. The idea behind that is they're not just protecting residents, they're also protecting visitors too.
Yes.
So we're trying to engage more in the community, not just bringing visitors here, but how can we take care of our own people here too. So that's been exciting. We sponsored the Gold Panther game a couple weeks ago. We did the Visitor Industry Day at the Gold Panthers. Part of that is a campaign to help raise funds for the hospital, for their PET CT scanner initiative. And we're going to be doing a food truck rally for hospital workers later this summer, because the hospital sees upwards to about 1,500 out-of-state visitors a year. So we're going to say, yeah, you guys help our visitors, we want to help you. So I'm excited by that we're playing a bigger role within the community, doing our part to make this Golden Heart City the best it can be for visitors and residents alike.
Got you. Okay. Brandon?
Yeah, well, you just kind of touched on this question a little bit just now and then a little bit earlier, but how do you work with other local businesses and artists to create authentic experiences?
We do, yeah. We can't do this alone. So we work with all the other economic development entities in Fairbanks. We work hand in hand with the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Association of Fairbanks, the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation. We work with nonprofits. We're not the creator of experiences. We're not the creator of products necessarily. We're the marketing entity. Right. So working with all the different entities that we can to help them, provide that experience that we can get the word out. But it's very much, it's collaborative across the board. Working with the local government stakeholders. Our list of stakeholders, it's a pretty exhaustive list.
Okay, so let's take a pause real quick. Okay, so Scott, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
Okay, so we have one final question for our former portion. Are you ready?
Bring it on.
Okay, finally, if someone had 48 hours in Fairbanks, what would you personally recommend to them that they do or see?
I would recommend that they try and stay another 48 hours, because 48 hours isn't long enough to enjoy Fairbanks. That's a tough question there, Dylan, because it's really going to depend on the time of year.
Yeah, exactly.
And, we get, what I neglected to mention at the beginning is not only do we market the tourists, but we take care of them once they're here. So we operate the visitor services center at the Morris Thompson Cultural Visitors Center. So we see upwards this time of year about 1,000 visitors a day.
Oh, wow.
Who are coming there and asking that same question, what should I see and do? So it really depends on...
1,000 visitors
It's up to the summertime.
Holy smokes.
Summertime, yeah. So it depends on the level of interest. And again, it's going to, depend on summer versus winter, because the experiences, differentiate so much, between the two. We always recommend anyone who's coming to Fairbanks for the first time to make sure they do come to the Morris Thompson Cultural Visitors Center.
Yes.
Have you guys all been there?
Yes.
Many times.
Oh, look, man, you at least, hey,
I even know a guy who works there, and he keeps trying to get me to come.
hey, so you at least need to go.
I know
the same guy.
He said there's a lot of fun things for kids to do there. He really
It's great. It's
Hey, so
amazing.
so you haven't gone and taken your picture by the Antler
Antler
Bridge?
No, I have not.
What? Okay, all
I'm
right.
glad we're having this conversation.
No doubt.
So that's
I've got a list going. Things I'm gonna do now.
No, that's the regional visitor center. I mean, stop there. You know, we've got amazing, visitor information specialist Bob Ely
Yes.
is one of our visitor engagement specialists. Fairbanks legend. Former sports editor, news minor, and it's about having a conversation. Okay, what are you interested in? How much time do you have? Do you have a car to be able to get around? I mean, there's just so much, and it depends. If people are hardcore adventure, soft adventure, do they like museums? We've got, of course, amazing museums, not just the Auto Museum, but the UA Museum in the north, the Ice Museum out at Sheena Hot Springs. It's tough. It's tough to say if you have 48 hours what to do, because it really depends on the type of visitor it is and finding out what do they want, because I guarantee we'll find what they want some way, because we've got a lot to offer.
Got you. Okay, so this is the formal portion of our interview with Mr. Scott McCrea, and so stick around, part 2. We're going to call this the freestyle portion, where we're just going to come up with some questions that we came up with throughout the course of the interview, and we're going to segue a little bit. So you got time for a few more questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, so welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of our interview with Mr. Scott McCrea, president of Explore Fairbanks, Alaska. And so this portion of the interview is going to be called our freestyle. This is where questions that came to mind during the interview, we get to ask them now. So this is our segue portion. So Brandon, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so we had talked a little bit about the extreme weathers here in Fairbanks, especially in the interior, and one thing that I did want to ask was, how does, especially recently, in the last few years, the amount of forest fires in the interior and the smoke, does that deter the tourism? And if so, how do you guys prepare to market that?
Yeah, it doesn't help for certain. I mean, it doesn't really impact. I mean, visitors who are planning to come here, they're still coming here. So it's just make sure, while they're here and we have those extreme fire conditions that we've had. We've been fortunate so far, knock on wood, this summer there has been some fires, but we haven't seen it too much in town. I mean, you guys probably recall some summer seasons where it's really kind of ruined our summer for the most part. So it's just making sure, that they're being safe and avoiding doing too much, outdoor activities. It's just making sure they've got the right information to still enjoy their time here in Fairbanks as safely as possible.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so there are a lot of tourists who come here, and a lot of people are fascinated with the wildlife we have up here.
They are, yeah.
Most especially moose.
Yeah.
Bear.
Yeah.
Have there ever been any incidents with tourists up here trying to get a little bit too cozy? And is there anything in the brochures or during the trip up here, like any disclaimers? Hey, guys.
Well, oh yeah.
Leave the moose alone.
Don't pet the bears. Yeah.
Because people post some of the most bewildering things on YouTube and on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure that probably guests that have come up here have probably done the same with some pretty negative results.
Yeah, I can't think of any particular instance of that. I mean, that's a big part of our education of our visitors, right? Especially those, Denali National Park.
Yeah,
which is 2 hours from here. They're down there. I mean, the park rangers there do a very good job of making sure people are safe when they're out there on the trails, and what to do if they see a bear, what to do if you see a moose. And that's same true in Fairbanks. We have the Alaska Public Lands Information Center that coexists with us at the Morris Thompson Center. They provide that wildlife safety information. Now, that being said, we can put all the information out there, all the education out there, all the tips and advice. Does that mean everyone's going to follow it?
Right.
No, that's not always the case, and that's not just true for visitors, but also for residents, residents too, who might, get a little too bold sometimes. But I'm not aware, I'm not aware of any situation where a visitor has had a, let's call it, negative experience with one of our critters here in Alaska. They probably tend to be even more cautious than residents do sometimes, for the most part.
Okay. So I do have another question. Explore Fairbanks, Alaska. How long as an organization have you guys been? So how long have you existed, and what brought Explore Fairbanks about, and who is it an entity of?
Yeah, so we started in 1977. We were known back then as the Fairbanks Convention and Visitors Bureau. So that was what a lot of entities like us across the country were referred to as convention and visitor bureaus. Started to realize that this is kind of a mouthful. So some 15 years ago, we switched to Explore Fairbanks, down in Anchorage. It's Visit Anchorage. Juneau is Travel Juneau. Matsu, for some reason, is Yahoo Matsu. I'm not sure why they landed on that one. Seems to be on brand. But so we started in 1977. There was still tourism marketing being done before that, and that was under the Chamber of Commerce. Okay. So I've seen tourism brochures for Fairbanks going back to the 1950s. And what's really fascinating, those older brochures, the message is still kind of the same what we're using today.
Right.
It talked about the Golden Heart City. It talked about the Roomboat. It talked about being the gateway to the Arctic and the base camp to Denali. So we've been pretty consistent with our messaging over the years. So we're what's known as a 501c6 nonprofit. It's a membership organization, kind of similar to the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
We're a partnership base, so we have about 500 tourism partners who make up our membership.
Wow. Okay.
They're not just here in interior Alaska, but across the state.
Yeah.
But our primary source of funding comes from I mentioned before, the bed tax revenue that's collected by the city of Fairbanks.
Gotcha.
And the Fairbanks North Star Borough, which makes great sense because when you think about taxes that are paid here within the borough, what makes the bed tax unique is it's not us as residents of the borough who are paying that tax.
Right.
Every now and then someone in Fairbanks will do a staycation somewhere, so they're paying that 8% bed tax, but it's a tax that's being paid for by people coming outside of the borough.
Right.
So the idea all along is that, let's reinvest that tax into destination marketing to bring more visitors here, and they're contributing to the economy in other ways. It tends to be, it's a source of contention sometimes. You mentioned the challenges that we have here, and sometimes a new council member, a new borough assembly member, a new mayor will have a difference of opinion and say, let's use more of this bed tax for general government services. So we battle that all the time. We're doing it right now with the borough. It's part of the job there. But I think the message that we have for how that bed tax should be used is a good one.
Okay, now so you are from Fairbanks, Alaska.
I'm from Ketchikan, actually, originally.
Okay.
I moved here and I grew up down in southeast Alaska. I came up here in '87 to go to UAF. Thought I'd stay 1 year.
Yep.
Here I am.
And so you're still here. Now, how long have you been the president?
This will be my fourth year.
Okay.
And I was the director of tourism for that, for about 7 years before that.
Okay, now is this a stepping stone for you, or is this like are you happy with where you are right now within this organization?
Well, with this organization, I'm as far up as they go. So this is a great job. It's a great industry.
Right.
I spent some time working in tourism when I graduated from UAF back in the late 90s, and then I worked in marketing and public relations for the university, for the school district. I kind of stumbled into tourism back in 2014, but when I did, it's like, this is the best thing that could ever happen to me.
Oh, wow.
It's an amazing industry.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're a dream destination. I mean, visitors who come here, it's been their life goal to come here, and to be a part of making that experience happen. It's pretty rewarding.
Gotcha. You got anything?
Mostly it's like by the time this goes out, we're going to miss the solstice because it's going to be tomorrow. What are some of the things coming up for people to go, just upcoming events? You got Golden Days.
Yeah, well, we've got, I know this is the, the highlight here. It's always, for me, this is my favorite time of year, but it's always like when June 22nd comes and listen to the radio and say, and we lost a second of daylight. It's like, no, we're going in that direction now. But there's still plenty, we still have plenty of hours of daylight ahead of us. And summer is not over when solstice is over. So the World Eskimo Annual Olympics, that's coming up in July. You got Golden Days coming up later in July. We got the fair, the Tanana Valley State Fair, that's also happening in late July.
Right.
So there's still so much more to enjoy here this summer. The Gold Pandas are still going. It's, as you guys know, you look on a count of events for a weekend in Fairbanks. It's like, okay, it's not a matter of there's nothing to do. It's a matter of, there's too much to do.
Right.
How am I going to prioritize my time?
Which one do you want to do first?
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
Exactly. Okay, now, so are there any, so do you have any sister cities? I don't know, like, are there any other communities that you work with and,
Well, no, not we. I mean, the city of Fairbanks has had a sister city program. Yakutsk, Russia, used to be part of that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they still are anymore.
Okay.
Fanano, Italy.
Okay.
Which is where Felix Pedro was a sister city one. I know the borough's looking at. There's been a sister city program out of North Pole with a city in Japan. I can't recall which one it was, but. We've had sister city programs here, not connected to us, but more so with the city of Fairbanks or the city of North Pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Brandon, you got anything?
Yeah, I got one more question. I think it's my best question of the night or the morning, afternoon, whatever we are.
Bring it on.
So, as a longtime Fairbanksian, longtime Alaskan, and now the president of Explore Fairbanks, what is your favorite thing to do in the interior?
Boy, that's
personally your favorite.
My personal thing. I love floating the Chena River.
Yeah.
In the summertime. Like I mentioned, that's I think in terms of attributes that we have, that is probably not appreciated as much as it should. It's the fact that we are a riverside city.
Right.
And when I think of potential, I'm always thinking, what more could we be doing here as a destination? I think there's more that could be done with the Chena River. There used to be back in the day, for example, there used to be a shuttle.
Yeah.
That boat would pick up like at the Princess Hotel in Pikes and bring people downtown. So I love, the Chena River in the summertime. Our trail system.
Trail
Chena
system
Hot
is
Springs
very
Road,
nice. Yes.
Granite Tours, Angel Rocks. And I got to say, this location right here where we're doing this podcast, Hoodoo's a very special place.
It is.
And I've got,
100%.
and I'll be here, my wife and I come here a couple times a week. But sometimes we'll strike up a conversation with visitors. And what I do when I'm talking to someone, I realize I know they're from out of town. Yes. I won't reveal who I am.
Yeah.
I'll say, I'm just local to it. Say, what are you guys doing? Do you want some advice there? But they always talk about how great this place is. You just come here and talk to people.
Yeah.
But what's even more telling about, I think, the specialness of Hoodoo is, I got a lot of friends in Anchorage who they come up here and say, we don't have something like this here.
Right.
This place where people just come together and you strike up a conversation, with a stranger and you end up being friends. So
Exactly.
And then I got to plug in for our culinary scene. I look at things that have changed in Fairbanks over the last, decade. Our culinary scene has evolved dramatically.
Yes.
Not just the growth in Thai food restaurants with 24, 25 now, but what's happening with the food trucks, and the expansion there. I mean, it's pretty remarkable what we have to offer for a town our size, for people who want to have, a culinary experience. Because people travel, that's the reason why people travel. They want to experience the local cuisine, the local culinary, and I think Fairbanks has done a great job in making meet those expectations over the years.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I do.
Have you ever done the Hoodoo Choo Choo?
I have. I've done it a couple times.
So speaking of culinary, our UAF, University of Alaska Fairbanks, their culinary arts program.
Yeah.
That's like their final, I think.
Yeah, I've never been, but I want to go. But I heard the tickets go pretty quick.
They go
quick.
quick.
And,
They go quick, yeah.
Yeah, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great.
Yes,
the
I think that's
Alaska-
our goal
just-
for this year. Then.
Yeah, the Alaska Railroad, just in general, is I love. My wife and I took the train down to Denali a few weeks ago. Spent the night down in Denali. That's a great experience.
Right,
I mean, it's a pretty unique train ride.
Right.
There, where you go from Fairbanks to Denali or all the way to Anchorage. I mean, if you're looking for a way to just sit back and relax and
Yeah.
disconnect from the world, I mean, I think train travel is such a great way to go.
Now, so do you have a coverage area of places that you recommend, and if you do you actually get a chance to go out and get involved with those communities that you recommend that people go and visit while they're here?
Well, so yeah, our funding is just within the borough, but our marketing.
Okay, so
purview-
Fairbanks North Star Borough
yeah,
is
that's our
the
funding.
area.
But
Okay.
we do market all the way up to the Arctic.
Okay.
Because that's part. So a big of our messaging that we do for promoting Fairbanks is not people just coming to Fairbanks and staying in Fairbanks, but because of our airport and our location here,
Right.
using Fairbanks as your base camp to go explore the Arctic. And Arctic tourism is one that's growing,
Right.
pretty rapidly. I think people want to go see the Arctic while it's still here.
Right.
before it melts away.
Yeah,
And then,
no
of course,
doubt.
Denali. I mean, Denali's the #1 destination in Alaska.
Right.
We're just 2 hours away.
Yes.
Drive 4 hours by the train. So we market that area too. And then going over to Delta and that region too. I mean, there's been a lot of great stuff happening over in Delta Junction for
Yes.
for tourism. And look like Kastner Glacier down by Black Rapids
Right.
Lodge. That's a part of the state that's developing too, that has a lot more to offer. And of course, North Pole is a big part of who we are as a destination.
Exactly. Okay.
The Santa Claus house.
Santa Claus House.
That's pretty
Yeah, they're
popular.
doing some great.
Pretty
They're
popular
they're doing
spot.
a big expansion out there too. That's going to
really?
be great to see. They're adding on a restaurant. They're going to do like a kind of an outdoor pavilion there. So that's a cool thing is there's a lot of new products coming online here in Fairbanks. I mentioned the Auto Museum. What's happening at North Pole, the Santa Claus House, up at the university, the Bus 142 project.
Yes.
The Into the Wild bus.
Yes.
That exhibit is going to be pretty amazing when that's done. And
Oh,
they're
okay. How
building-
much longer do they have until that's completed?
I think it's a year or so.
Oh wow. Okay.
away, but,
Okay.
But that was a big draw. There was a lot of
Now-
trouble with people going to its old location,
Yeah.
the Stampede Trail.
Okay. Now, so if I'm not mistaken, the shop that it's being worked on in, people can still go and look at the progress.
I think it's
or-
outside. No, it used to be in the engineering building.
Yes.
I think it's been moved out, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I mean, last year was in the basement of the museum.
The bus? Okay. Yeah, it used to be in the engineering building. But what they were also doing at the university is a planetarium, which, as an Aurora destination, that's going to be cool to have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be late September when it opens, or
Yeah. I know they broke ground last summer. So there's a lot of great, new things happening, new products that it's not, again, I always like to say, this isn't just for visitors coming here.
Right.
This is for those of you who live and call the Fairbanks North Star Borough home. Get out and enjoy what your community has to offer.
Yes.
We're fortunate to have you in our backyard.
Yeah. There are a lot of great things to do in the community, and you just have to get out and explore Fairbanks,
we go.
explore the community.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. You guys good?
Yeah, I got no more questions.
No more questions?
I was gonna say website.
ExploreFairbanks.com.
Okay.
Yeah, we have an amazing, great social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. So
Just gotta make sure when they do the movement to the new Fountainhead to get that information.
get that parade out there. Yeah.
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 Exactly. Okay. Well, so no more questions, guys.
Yeah, I'm good.
But going back to what you were saying about the uniqueness of hoodoo,
Yeah.
and more specifically this particular table right here, because between Brandon, myself, and Jeff, just us sitting around this table, we have met so many tourists, and we've struck up interesting conversations. And so you can't, well, you can, but I have not been able to do that at any other location other than hoodoo.
Yeah.
And so this is one of those community pillars that has a way to bring total strangers together
Yeah.
and and where you have lasting friendships from it. So
there's a unifying factor in beer, isn't there?
Yes,
Despite all
yes.
the problems we might have in
Beer
the
and
world,
good conversation.
Beer and good conversation will
Yes.
bring us all together.
Exactly,
Amen.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end this segment here, Mr. McCrea.
Thank you.
But before we do, I have one more question for you.
Uh-oh.
And we end this podcast all
Okay.
the time with this one question.
Okay.
What's your why?
Say that again.
What's your why?
What's my why?
Yes.
You have to clarify that. What's
As
my
far
why?
as Explore Fairbanks, as far as you and what you foresee the future of the organization looking like, and how you plan to impact it.
Well, like we talked about before, we're having some challenging times in the industry now, but I think the future of tourism here in Fairbanks is extremely bright. Like I said, we have an amazing destination, an amazing community that I'm truly blessed to be a part of, and an organization that I love and admire. So I feel very good about where things are going for us, and I'm committed to making the best it can be. Like I said, not just for visitors, but all the 95,000 people that I live with here in the borough who call it home.
Right. Good deal. Good deal. So, on that note, I'm Tilden.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Brandon.
And I'm Scott.
And this was 36 the Podcast. And we are
Podcast 36.